Hello, as always, from Southern Ontario, Canada, January 8th. I can't make this video brief, so before I get into it, I was admonished in the comments for clicking my pen in agitation. The true challenge is not in cursing most times, sometimes in wanting to weep, and other times often to rage. However, I'll put it down. As my YouTube efforts, my YouTube's getting hacked in some fashion. I can't get straightened out. So that saves me an hour or two's work a day with my reposting to the Citizens Coalition groups and blah blah. You've heard it all before. So in the evenings, I've been delving back into history. And, basically, what I've been looking at is the self-proclaimed the Duke, Alduce, is that how you would pronounce it in Italian? The father of fascism. Famous in history for a Mussolini-style ending, which has been spoken of here in Canada. But anyways, and then, he came into power in 1922. I didn't realize it went back that far. And I guess I'll start there. A brilliant stroke of manipulative propaganda in how he came to power. So brilliant, in fact, that you kind of got to dig to realize it was very much a staged event. But realize they didn't have social media then. They didn't have the internet, the World Wide Web. Radio, invented in 1890 something. It was 1920 before it was commercially out there. And I would assume that was more American perhaps than European, although maybe I shouldn't say that. But in 1922, I doubt there was a radio in every house in Italy. And so hard to counter government propaganda when that's all there is available to you, government propaganda. Kind of harkens to Trudeau's desire for Bill C-11, where they take control of the internet, one might think. Yeah, could be. Then we move to Germany. Heil Reich. You know who I'm referring to. He assumed power in 1933, and we all know what happened in 1939. Yeah. Television became available in 1927, but it was the 1950s before the American households had TVs commonplace. So I really doubt in Germany in the 30s, that TV served as counter-government propaganda. But what I was really looking into as I was studying more the 30s than the 20s, studying Mussolini was just sort of an accident. Once I get into it, it was fascinating. He was sponsored by Fiat, the auto manufacturer, but that's a whole Cliff Clavinism we're not going to get into. But the timelines of the implementations of their ideologies, of these dictators and the demagogues, the tyrants, whatever you want to call them. Again, the timelines of the implementations of their ideologies are uncannily similar in the timelines of what has happened in Canada. And I would refer again to Bill C-11 and certainly to Bill C-21. Now, and another thing that happened both in the 20s, the 30s, and here and now, over the last 7 years, every once in a while the public begins to push back a little bit, because the timeline of the implementation of their ideologies is the state just takes more and more freedoms and moves more and more power to them own selves. Excuse me. And whenever the public pushes back, they have a little little retreat. They kind of throw a bone to the public, you know. Oh, you know, they're backing off a little. Excuse me. Tea and lemon. So, anyways, again, in modern circumstance, everybody, oh, they dropped the mandates. Well, no, they didn't. They just suspended them. So, anyways, the timelines. But something I learned is these tyrants, I mean, they become intoxicated with their own power, right? And they actually begin to believe their own propaganda. And to every one of them, to each and every one of them, there's a fatal moment when they lose their perception of reality and start to make serious mistakes. Because again, they've become so intoxicated with themselves that they begin to believe their own propaganda. I mean, let's move to current times. Our leader, remember that speech he made when on the campaign trail last year? He was out in BC somewhere. He really slipped up. He said, "Oh, you can't have those people, can't have them sitting next to the on the airplanes. You know, I'm not going to tolerate." Well, we have to ask ourselves: are we as a society going to tolerate that? You see the slip up there, right? I saw a recent clip of him, Sheila Gunn Reid from the Rebel News. I'm not sure who she was doing a split screen was, and I even forget the subject matter that Trudeau was speaking about. I think it was Bill C-21, or it might have been Bill C-11, but whatever. Whoever was questioning him put it to him straight up: "Do you really believe in this?" And he's saying yes, but his head's like this. Now, if you're a student of body language, that's a big tell. You know, if the police are interrogating you, that's their psychology. They study psychology. They refer to it as a tell. Your body gives you away. And if you just close your eyes and listen to Trudeau, well, it's almost believable, like if you just woke up out of a coma. But then if you watch him, particularly if you turn the sound off and watch him, I often do that. I've said this in other videos. I'll often watch a Trudeau speech 3 times. Once I listen to the whole thing, then I go throw up. Then I come back and do the audio and visual thing, and yeah, it's very telling. Now, I've often heard many people in the press, and Jordan Peterson, brilliant man, referred to as Trudeau as a narcissist. Well, I would argue, and who might argue with Jordan Peterson, but I would say that narcissism, or being a narcissist, is simply a symptom, more of a display, I can't quite find the right word, a tell, if you will, of sociopathy. Sociopaths it's an inherent trait in them. They have an overinflated sense of self-worth. And again, we can see Trudeau, when has he become so intoxicated with himself that he's begun to believe his own propaganda? I mean, I think he believed his own propaganda with Ottawa last year and the declaration of the Emergencies Act, the enactment of the Emergencies Act, that everyone with unacceptable views were a fringe minority of misogynists. Where did that one come from? Racist, white supremacists, far right-wing extremists, and terrorists, etc. I think he actually believed that the Canadians who were and are tired of what we politely call government overreach are a minority simply because the unacceptable views are that we don't accept his views. I mean, I think he actually believes that. Does he actually believe climate change? Well, he's saying he believes in climate change. Climate change is real. Do you think it's real? Yes, I think it's real. Oh, it's real. See what I'm saying? The body language business? But with his perception of reality going awry in his own mind, I mean, as his perception of reality and reality's perception of him become further and further disparate, he is making mistakes. He's moving too fast in too many directions at once. He's alienating too many groups. You look at what Bill C-21 has done. As, you know, if he'd have been a little quieter with his movement on it, but all of a sudden saying, oh, every firearm known to man, well, that brought the indigenous people, the Métis, the people in the far north, the hunters, and other groups into the fray, whereas before that it was just kind of sport shooters and hunters to some extent, right? Intoxicated, making a mistake, and Bill C-11. But interestingly enough, the one that seems to be really making waves is Jordan Peterson. This has brought to light the government influence into the governing bodies of many things. By things, I mean, in Jordan Peterson's case, the College of Physicians, no, College of Psychologists, governing board of about 12 people. Now, they're like the physicians and surgeons have a college board that governs them. This is where you go to complaints. Your doctor molested your child or something, or he was practicing bad medicine, whatever. You go to, they're elected by their field. I'll stick to psychology for Jordan's sake. They're supposed to be the governing body of them own selves. They're not supposed to be influenced by the government. And so at the same time, the news of Jordan Peterson is breaking. Is at the very same time that Trudeau and his government have said that they're going to start placing the people in these colleges, in these oversight groups. My words, oversight group, the colleges. Whereas they were supposed to be, and are supposed to be peer voted, elected. Jordan Peterson might have been elected to the College of Psychologists to keep an eye on their own group. They're a self-governing body to make sure that their members are staying within the lines of their profession. So, as Trudeau's intoxication and his perception of reality, ironically, I think Jordan Peterson is bringing, the subject of Jordan Peterson, it's really bringing it to light. And Jordan Peterson, I'm not sure how many people follow him on a global level. Maybe someone can comment on that. He's world renowned. He has a huge following. I saw a clip on Rebel News. They said he's the most published author, more books published than anything except the Bible. Wow, if he's the world's best published author, in many senses, he's the world's best well-known man, isn't he? So, Trudeau's making a lot of mistakes, but I'll leave the video there. I know it's gone on rambling for a while, but again, the biggest part of my point was the parallels in the timelines of the implementations of the ideologies of the demagogues. So, we'll leave it there.